Before we begin today's video, I'd like to give a shout out to one of our newest subscribers, Caleb Campus. I hope I pronounced that correctly. I do apologize if I did not pronounce it correctly. But in either case, thank you for subscribing, and welcome to the family. And now on with today's video. Greetings, my dear viewers. Welcome back to Dungeons & Dragons Character Conversion Reloaded, where I take a look at some of my older builds where I took a look at famous characters to convert them into Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition and see what information I missed and to see if any newer releases happen to help build that character better. We have done this in the past when I either missed information or some new releases came out to help us build these characters just a little bit more accurately. And this character is no exception, as Nissa Revane from the Magic the Gathering franchise, another product of Wizards of the Coast, does actually have more information about her and some information that I did miss. Mostly a restart on her origin. So let's go ahead and get right into it. Nissa is an elf from the plane of Zendikar. So expect the plane shift Zendikar to be in this video. And she is a planeswalker who has a very, very tight connection to her home plane. So much so that she is able to read its life force and determine its feelings and its health. Not just her own plane though, but she can also tap into the life force of other planes and read the life force of those planets, which is exquisite, and unfortunately we don't have any type of class that can do that. This is very specific to Nissa, but we have something very close, and this is something that I missed out on in the last video on this planeswalker. So let's go ahead and get started and see how much closer we can get to her character. Starting things off with our stats, we are using the point buy system. 10 on your strength, 15 on your dexterity, 10 on your constitution, intelligence will be a 13, wisdom will be a 14, and charisma will be a 10. Nissa is said to be a great swordsman and can use a weapon very well, so we are going to need dexterity for her main weapon, which is the Animist Blade. Next, we are going for race. Just like I said, she is an elf from Zendikar. So, plane shift Zendikar is going to be helpful in some regards. However, the Joraja elf, which is what she is very similar to the wood elf. And I do mean similar. So, we'll just be using that for this context. So, speed of 35 feet, dark vision of 60 feet, you get Fey Ancestry, Trance, Mask of the Wild, and proficiency in Perception, as well as weapons of longsword, short bow, and long bow. Also, your ability scores increase your dexterity by 1 point, and your wisdom by 2. Next, for our background, and this is going to be very dependent on which version of Nissa you are creating. Either you are creating the Nissa that came before or after the March of the Machine and a March of the Machine Aftermath, as those are two different characters. 3 if you count the one that is in the middle of all that and being from both. So, starting things off with our first background is from the Planeswalkers of Ravnica, made by Christopher Willett. The Planeswalker background. This background gives us the proficiencies in skills of Arcana and Survival, as well as a musical instrument of choice or a gaming set of choice. Nissa does have a fascination in music, so I would go with the musical instrument. Which one? I have no idea. It did not give me an answer to that one. You also get one language of your choice and the feature Planeswalker Spark, which gives you access to the 4th level spell Planeswalk. Not Planeshift, Planeswalk. This is a smaller spell to the Planeshift spell, so keep that in mind. This is a homebrew spell only for this supplement, which you can find in the DM's Guild. I highly recommend it. It is wonderful. Secondly, we have the Sage background. This is if you are playing Nissa from after War of the Machine. Because Nissa ends up losing her Planeswalker Spark, which is rather upsetting, but it had to be done. There was no choice in the matter. Once she had been claimed by the Phyrexians, she had to be, quote-unquote, uncompleted. In doing so, she lost her spark. So she is no longer able to travel the planes normally. So, next for our Sage, we have proficiencies in the skills of Arcana and History, and you get 2 languages of choice with the feature Researcher. Moving on to our class, we're going to start things off as a Ranger, because of the card Nissa, Vastwood Seer, and another Nissa card. Oh, I don't remember the name of it, but it also has the fact that Nissa is a scout, which we could have gone rogue for, but I decided to go Ranger because it made a little bit more sense for Nissa's sort of character, her personality. Because, according to Nissa, the Vastwood Seer, when Nissa enters the battlefield, you may search your library for a basic forest card, reveal it, and put it into your hand. So we need to make sure we have that in mind when creating Nissa. And that is why we are going with the Ranger, because we are able to get Natural Explorer and choose the environment of Forest. Now, anyway, for our class of Ranger, we get a D10 hit die, starting hit points at 10 plus our Constitution modifier, and extra hit points of 1d10 plus Con modifier per Ranger level. For your proficiencies, light armor, medium armor, shields, simple weapons, martial weapons, your saving throws are strength and dexterity, and for your skills you get 3. Athletics, nature, and this last one will depend on which background you chose. If you chose the Planeswalker background, just go with stealth, it is fine. But if you choose the Sage background, you will need survival. I just realized I forgot the L. Anyway, favorite enemy. Did you know that Nissa has a great disdain for vampires? So we're going with undead for our favorite enemy, instead of going with the upgraded favorite foe, because, you know, I like lore. And again, Natural Explorer, our favorite terrain is Forest. Level 2 Ranger, we're going with the fighting style of Dueling, since we are a skilled swordsman. And our spellcasting uses our Wisdom modifier. And now is going to be the fun part where we're multi-class, because this is where our poor Nissa gains her Planeswalker Spark and figures out her connection with the very plane she lives on, and becomes Sage Animist. Animists are very powerful shamans, which can be similar to druids in most often cases. So the animist that we need, of course, being druid to get as close to this as possible. I am blabbering. And I must point out that I do not support this type of multi-class often, as both Ranger and Druid have the exact same spell list, except for like 5 different spells that are exclusive to the Ranger subclass. It seems unnecessary. I don't normally support it, but I am making an exception with Nissa because it helps with showing you who Nissa is deep down. And she does end up attuning to her powers and to the connection to her plane more than she does with her swordsmanship, though she still does increase that ability with time. It's still a part of her, but she does hone her powers in the spellcraft and with her animist's background. So we do need to keep that in mind. Hit die of a d8, extra hit points of 1d8 plus constitution modifier per druid level. You get druidic, and spellcasting using your wisdom modifier once again. Going into level 2, this is where things are going to get a little hairy, because there are 3 druid circles that actually fit with Nissa. One being Circle of the Blighted, and this is because, according to the lore of Magic the Gathering, Zindakar's core was fractured and some of it was taken. Some say the animist did something stupid, so Zindakar ended up cursing any animist. And so, yeah, Blighted Druid made sense because that's kind of their shtick. Their land was corrupted in some form or fashion. And also, they are able to bring up plants as a wild shape usage, so I found that sort of fitting, as well as being able to get out some elementals, which Nissa is good at. Now, Nissa does end up returning that fracture piece of Zindakar's core to Zindakar, so the Circle of the Land also makes perfect sense. This will give you a bonus cantrip and some natural recovery. Next is Nissa's Ascended Animist form from the War of the Machine. Her quote-unquote completed self, which uses the Druid Circle of the Evergear, which gives us access to machine speech. I don't like this form of Nissa. It creeps me out. But the Evergear is the perfect fit if you're looking for this quote-unquote completed version of Nissa. Moving on to level 3, we get our circle spells. If you are a Circle of the Land Druid, you're going with the Forest, which gives us access to the spells Bark Skin and Spider Climb. If you went for the Circle of the Evergear, you get Repair Metal and Lock Armor. Oh, I almost forgot. The Circle of the Evergear is from Cobalt Press. So if you want to figure out what this does in full, I would recommend checking out Cobalt Press and finding Circle of the Evergear. Moving on to level 4, we get some wild shape improvements and an ability score improvement. Increase your wisdom by 2 points. At level 5, we get some druid spells. For your Circle of the Land, you get Call Lightning and Plant Growth. For your Evergear, you get Gear Barrage and Soul of the Machine. At level 6, we get a Druid Circle feature. If you are a Circle of the Blighted, Call of the Shadow Seeds is your ability. This will give us access to our plant tokens. For your Circle of the Land, you get Land's Stride, and Circle of the Evergear gives us the additional Contagion, which increases our range for our Contagion spell. And you also get Affinity for the Forged. Next is Druid level 7. If you are a Circle of the Land Druid, you get the spells Divination and Freedom of Movement. If you are Circle of the Evergear, you get Grinding Gears and Steam Blast. Level 8 Druid, some more wild shape improvements as well as an ability score increase. Go ahead and increase your Dexterity and your Intelligence each by 1 point. Level 9, your circle spells are for Circle of the Land, Commune with Nature, and Tree Stride. For Circle of the Evergear, Mass Repair Metal, and Mechanical Union. Level 10 Druids get another circle feature. For your Blighted Druids, you have Fell Conjuration. For your Circle of the Land, Nature's Ward. And the Evergear has Ore Weaver. I don't know why there's an gone there. Whatever, something messed up. Next, level 12 Druid. Instead of ability score improvement, we're going with the feat Piercer, increasing our dexterity to an 18. At level 14, we get another Druid Circle feature. Incarnation of Corruption is your Circle of the Blighted. Nature's Sanctuary for the Circle of the Land, and for your Circle of the Evergear, you get Beast in the Machine and Clockwork Beasts. At level 3 Ranger, we get Prime Evil Awareness. That way we can start detecting where the vampires hide. And our Ranger Conclave is going to be Horizon Walker, since we are trying to defend any form of plane from otherworldly threats. We are going to be a Horizon Walker simply for that purpose. If you are going for more of the completed Nissa, then I would recommend Gloomstalker. For our Horizon Walker, you get your Horizon Walker magic, so you can have access to protection from evil and good. You also have Detect Portal and Planar Warrior. At level 16, you get an ability score increase. Go ahead and increase your wisdom by 2 points, maxing it out to 20. And finally, Ranger level 4. Go ahead and increase your constitution by 2 points. Now, I would have a spell list for you, but I was short on time, so I do not have it for you. I believe I have a spell list in the original Nissa video, so if you would like to check that out, I would recommend doing so. But with that being said, that is all the time I have for you today, my dear viewers. I hope you have enjoyed, and I'll see you next time. But for now, I am offline.